I am so excited to be here with Elena Herdieckerhoff. This is not the first time you come on my YouTube show, but now we have something special. This is called Sigrun Show Live Special because we want to talk about all the things that you may want to know about TEDx and have not asked about or didn't know. You have in front of you two TEDx speakers, both wearing, we have like this, all the facets of red. I have actually three colors myself, and then you have another color of red. So two TEDx speakers in front of you. I gave my TEDx talk in May 2015. You gave your TEDx talk about a year later or so. Mine was in Zurich, yours was in Paris. You live in Germany. I live in Switzerland and Iceland. So you can also give a TEDx talk in another city, in another country you don't live in. I know that people are shy to ask questions. So this will be like a Q&A between us in both directions. But of course, you are welcome to ask anything. We are watching your comments. And I want to start to go back. When did you get the idea to give a TEDx talk, Elena?
Well, I think I always had this, like many entrepreneurs, I had this as my vision board item, you know, like we all see our future on the TEDx stage at some point. And for me, it was something that it was more the message that pulled me, because I felt that highly sensitive people had bad PR in the world. And well, I would like to change that. And I thought, you know, I felt I knew enough about the subject, and most importantly, I really cared about the subject and cared about helping people understand it better. And so often when I would share with someone, oh, I'm a highly sensitive person, they'd be like, what is that? Is that an illness? Is that like a character trait? Like, what is that? And I thought, wouldn't it be great if somebody would do a talk about this? And then at some point I realized that somebody could be me.
That's you. Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, and that's actually when kind of the idea gained momentum for me in my head, where I'm like, okay, I can actually do this. And then I started visualizing this possibility for myself, which I think this is for many TED speakers, it's the first step, is to actually think it's possible for you. Because I don't know, maybe this was similar for you too, Sigrun, but for me, I'm like, I'm a nobody. Like, why would TED want to have a nobody like me on stage? You know, I mean, I didn't do anything to be famous. I didn't do anything where people were like, oh, of course, it's her, you know. So I had to get over the mindset that I would not be, you know, famous enough for the TEDx stage to be chosen to speak.
Yeah, it happened for me in a way that I put it actually on my vision board on Pinterest about the time I started my business. And I thought, that is the coolest thing ever to be one day a TEDx speaker. But not in a million years did I think it would happen the following year. And I think that's where it comes back to the belief, like anyone can be a TEDx speaker.
Yes.
And you do not have to be famous or known or have achieved something crazy or amazing, or you probably don't think it's amazing, but maybe other people do.
Yeah.
And so I would not have pursued it, I think. But I started to do weekly webinars in July of my first year. And then around October, November, I was doing like discovery calls. And one of the people who booked this free discovery, it was actually online business strategy calls that were completely free. They were after a failed launch. Like, I did a webinar with 600 people and nobody wanted to buy my course. One person bought, I refunded her. And then I said, I have spent all this money on Facebook ads and I have all these people on my list. They probably
like want now, right? Like, what can I do to salvage this now?
Yeah, how do I save my launch, my first proper launch? So I sent this email, book your free online business strategy sessions, 90 people booked. And this talk is not about that and how to do that, but one of the people who booked this free online business strategy session was on the board of TEDx Zurich Women, and if you're on the board, each board member is actively looking for speakers. You can also apply, but I wouldn't have dared to apply. So then I delivered a strategy session. C asked me at the end, would you want to speak? Would you want to be on the TEDx stage? And I'm like, of course. Like, it's I straight to my Pinterest board. Like, of course. She said, I've been following your webinars and I love your story. Key here, story. And I think you're inspiring storytellers. And I think, that would be a good chance for you. I still had to apply. I think there's no way around it, except if you are on the TED stage. But it was like this thing of like, I would not have considered myself a TEDx speaker until someone, said, I think you should be one. And I think I want to say right now to anyone watching or, you are a potential TEDx speaker. You just got to go after it. Everyone can do it. And I just needed this nudge, like, because I thought you had to be ready. Like, you have to first, it's like, especially if you're a business coach, and both of us have been and are business coaches, you think you have to have achieved like, I have to have $1 million business or at least a 6-figure business. I didn't even have a 6-figure business. So like you said, in the wider world, I was a nobody, and still somebody asked me, hey, I want to hear your story. I want to hear your big idea. You are actually very good at pulling out these big ideas. So explain to us what that big idea is.
So I think a big idea is an accumulation of different core components. So first of all, it has to be something that you're knowledgeable about, right? Because this is where also the confidence that comes from, to say, I can speak on a stage and say, I own this topic. Like, I know this topic. Doesn't mean you need to know everything about this topic, but you need to have like, either that it's something you've lived and that's why you really know it, or it's something you've learned or experienced, so you can share genuine know-how, I would say. I think that's like part one of the equation. Part two of the equation is that you truly care. Like, you have to say that your world and the world would be a better place if you shared this, and that you have a special twist on it that's unique to you, and that you feel that this is in your heart and in your soul to transmit to people. And thirdly, it's almost like one level higher than that, is that it's your mission to do so. And I always say your idea pulls you onto the TEDx stage. You don't just say, oh, I want the TEDx stage because that's a great idea. It can do a lot for me in my business. You have to really start with the idea, and the idea should pull you to the stage, because that means you're really in service to your idea. And people that watch you, they feel that. They feel, are you sharing it because it's good for you, or are you sharing it because it's good for them? And if you're sharing it because it's good for them, then you're kind of on stage for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I see so many entrepreneurs want it because of the viral effect of the video. And of course, this it's almost like this quality stamp on your business once you've given a TEDx talk. But if you go in with the wrong reasons, like, oh, I'm going to make more money, or I'm going to get more leads because I have a TEDx talk, that's not going to work. That video will definitely not go viral.
Yes, because it's the intentionality that people can feel. And I think even in how you deliver the talk itself, people can feel if it's like an ego-based talk or a service-based talk. And the difference is remarkable for an audience, because they feel either kind of manipulated by the speaker because they know it has this kind of ickiness to it, or they feel completely like wrapped into the story and the idea, and they go on this journey and they're like, wow, like, thank you so much for sharing, like they're so grateful that you shared something that's genuinely helpful or useful or inspiring in some way to them.
Yeah. In my talk, I start with like TikTok. I can still deliver it today. Yeah. tick tock, tick tock. The clock is ticking. I'm waiting for, I was waiting for a radio show to start. And then only afterwards I say, I'm 6 years old. And so many people came up to me after the talk and said, I also had a dream when I was a child. They told me they had cried. So I think it's also about letting the audience experience, like be that person that you're describing, instead of me saying, oh, I'm so amazing and I have achieved so much. It's like I decided to go back to childhood stories and dreams and stuff. And then the people said, I also had a dream. I also had something I wanted to do as a child. I think I better go and do that right now.
Yeah. And I think this is the magic of really heart-based storytelling. Because if you choose stories that genuinely are meaningful to you, and they're maybe even perhaps vulnerable to share, it depends on the context and the topic, of course, but people then feel like they have the ability to connect to you truly, and in connecting to you, they're actually connected to parts of their own journey. And this is where people then say, wow, this was an amazing talk. What does that mean when somebody says that? It means that truly your journey intertwined with their journey, and now it's like a common journey. And I had the same experience like you. I shared some more funny anecdotes from my life about, traveling with a pillow, or that I was scared of Jaws and didn't want to swim in the ocean for years. Some of you like, oh my God, me too. Oh my God, me too. I still do this. And this is like these small connection points also allow the humanity of the speaker to show up. And you're not like this perfect, slick performer. You're like a real human being with real stories and real hopes and dreams, and also real flaws. And you allow people to feel your truth in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's about the vulnerability, whether it's a story, mistakes you made, or something you're afraid of, or funny, or dreams you've had and hopes and have maybe realized or not realized. I felt that connection, but I did not know, to be honest, as I was writing this, I was truly just diving into my own story, and I did not realize that connection. Is there a way to know that upfront? Like, is that is there some recipe to figure out like whether this will connect? Because how does someone know that this resonates? Like, is there some recipe to it?
I think there are a few things. First of all, I think when you select your stories, you really need to see, will my story be meaningful to more than my inner circle? Because sometimes we also have stories we love telling because they mean so much to us, but really like outside of people who love us and care about us, around the dinner table, nobody would really be like, oh, that's the story. Like, you have to see, is the story in service to your idea, or is it in service to you having this great feeling telling it? Because that's a big difference. So if you see, like, is the story a good servant to your idea? That's the first way to know it connects. Second of all, are there touch points that have some human relevance across the board? Like, everybody had a childhood dream, maybe. Everybody had a movie that scared them. Everybody had like these components where they, maybe it's a different movie, maybe it's a different childhood dream, but they can kind of tune into what you must have felt, and they can feel like, oh, I felt that too, or I had that too. And these rapport moments are what then create a good story. And then once you've kind of found something that kind of speaks to these two parts, then the delivery of the story is another really important part of this. Because like, how do you tell a story? You could tell the same story and it can fall flat for an audience, or it can be incredibly meaningful. And that has to do with, one, the architecture you use for the storytelling of it. Like, it's not too much detail, not too little detail, and make sure that you make it come alive. Put in metaphors, put in ways, colors, sights, sounds, smells. Like, make the story like people are like in it with you, like they get it, they feel it, they love it. And then people are like, oh, this story grabbed me. And yeah, it did, because you made it come alive for them.
Yeah. When I heard first, like, ideas worth spreading, because TED, you know, that's the whole concept. Idea worth spreading.
Yes.
I also thought the idea has to be so big. It has to be like, you know, a rocket ship or a moon landing, or it's a new vaccine that you can create in a day, or whatever, you know, like, yeah. So the regular person hearing about, oh, it has to be an idea worth spreading. I'm like, do I have an idea worth spreading? Like, what do you say to someone who's thinking that I don't have an idea worth spreading?
Yes. So my belief is that everybody has a TEDx talk in them, if not several, because we all are sitting on a golden idea. The problem is we often don't know that we are. So there will be some area in your life that is, because it's so familiar to you, or so easy to you, or so, you know, like, oh, you think everybody's gone through this, or everybody's mastered this, or everybody's understood this, that you diminish the power of your idea for somebody else, right? So just recently I came across a TEDx talk that somebody had sent to me, and they wanted my opinion, and it was a TEDx talk on a topic of relationship breakups. Now, you wouldn't think that that would make a fascinating TED talk, just a woman sharing her journey of her breakup. But really, she had very profound life lessons in there, and it was a great TEDx talk. So, you know, something like, you survived a breakup could make a fantastic TEDx talk. And you would never think that, right? You would never think that maybe how you handled your breakup could be an inspiration for millions of people saw this particular talk. And I think that is just, it goes to show that it can be even like in the quote unquote mundane daily life experiences, that if you had a special angle of how you mastered it, or you found a new way to navigate something that you find might be helpful to somebody else, that already makes a great idea. Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, like you said, the next huge invention or the next big thing. It can also be like, how did you master an aspect of your life? And how can you share that with others maybe? So everybody has an idea, and it's a question to start digging what you feel really passionate about too, and then see what remains once you put these kind of ingredients into the mix.
I'm laughing not because I got this idea now. There was this TEDx talk, and that was not his passion, what is not his mission, because I think that's often like my TEDx talk in May 2015 was definitely when I had the tagline "Passion to Profits," and you know, I was like, you know, be inspired, think big, take action, and how little it takes to change your life and follow your dreams and make your vision come alive. And at that time, it was the great talk for what I was doing, and still today, I'm proud of it. But as you said, there are more TEDx talks in me, and I'm now, after running my business for almost 7 years, and finally stepping into this full vision of mission to accelerate gender equality through female entrepreneurship, I'm like, I got to do a talk on that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to hold you to it.
Elena is going to, you know, like hold my arm. It's like, Sigrun, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? I had
you're like, Sigrun.
I had told you that I definitely want to do a TEDx talk, but maybe it doesn't have to be on the TEDx stage.
Yes.
Does that also happen, that people kind of come to you and say, hey, I want to create a TEDx talk, but maybe I will not deliver it on TEDx. I will maybe deliver it somewhere else.
Yes, actually that happens more often than you think. Actually, in the beginning, I was surprised when I started my business, my TEDx speaker coaching business in 2017. You know, our whole branding focus is all about TEDx. And yet we had many people reach out to us and say, hey, can you help me with our speech? And in the beginning, I was like, so how interesting, because we're like specialists in this one area. And what I realized is, why do people want that? And why do they want our help to speak on different stages? Is because I think TEDx has mastered a specific almost formula and style and energy of captivating an audience with a short speech where you really manage to take people on an A to Z transformational journey, both intellectual and emotional, and then make people feel like, wow, like I learned something, I changed because of this talk. So what people want now is, instead of giving quote unquote boring keynote speeches or boring whatever it is, they want to bring that kind of TEDx pizzazz to their talks. And that's why I've actually been hired multiple times by people who wanted a TEDx style talk without wanting to do it on the TEDx stage.
Yeah, I can see that, because I love the 18 minutes. You know, and my talk was actually on purpose. I did it shorter, so I didn't have to watch the clock.
I did that too.
Yeah, so mine was like 13 something minutes. And then you tend to rush through it afterwards anyway. But yeah, I can see that, you know, just thinking of my conference and everything, like often I feel that if you want to be really inspiring, the longer the talk, you're less inspiring you are. Like, then you're just faffling on and it's not as distinct.
Yes. And you know, what I always tell my clients is that a TEDx talk is like a crucible. You burn everything away that is not necessary. And you're just left with the essence. And the essence is really all people need to have that transformational experience. And of course, the way I would see a great TEDx talk is it should serve as an appetizer for whatever topic you're introducing. It should not deliver the whole enchilada. It's the appetizer. And then you get people so interested and passionate about the topic that they want to take the next step. They want to buy the book, buy the course, watch the video, dig deeper, whatever it is. And that's how you should do it. You should create desire to learn more and desire to deepen their understanding. And if you manage that with a talk, whether TEDx or on another stage, then I think you fulfilled your mission.
Yeah. So you talked about, like, you know, people have multiple TEDx talks, and I know that for myself, there's another and maybe more, maybe I have this idea of writing a book, Recipe for Gender Equality. And I'm like, that's another talk.
Oh, I can hold you to two now.
Yes. But it's not always a mission or something that happened to you. You mentioned the woman with the breakup. Well, it kind of happened. I'm thinking of one talk that I loved. There was a guy who pulled the leg of a spammer.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's very funny.
It's very funny. And maybe you remember it better than me, but basically he got a spam message and he started to reply to the spammer, and he was able to deliver a funny, interesting, thoughtful TEDx talk on the interaction with the spammer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, you know, people, it's actually interesting you mentioned that, because people assume also TEDx topics have to be kind of serious. They don't. Like, you know, plenty of extremely humorous TEDx talks that will almost borderline cross into stand-up, where it's you know, they actually take a lot of tools and tricks from the world of stand-up comedy, and still, even within that, like, even good stand-up should have a good message, and good stand-up should have, you know, something soulful that touches you beyond the jokes. So that's why it works on the TEDx stage too, to have also more irreverent topics. So if you have something irreverent, like, I don't know, your love of 19th century roses and why that is the best thing, and, you know, it can be dainty, it can be funny, it can be, you know, it can be anything you want it to be. And that's what I love about the TEDx stage, is you can go like from the ultra scientific, latest discovery, here's how humanity will be changed by XYZ invention, to the completely ludicrous. It's still meaningful. Like, there are also talks that have a serious edge, but still the delivery is very quirky. Like, there's a woman who did a talk on in how many household items you have elements of pig meat, like pork or like pig fibers, or I don't know, whatever, like 300 different things that have that in them. And, you know, like, this is just like nothing that will change your life, but it's interesting to know.
Yes, interesting to know. Like the spammer, that talk is not changing my life, but I'm thinking of it. It makes me laugh. And I felt it was fascinating. Like,
yes,
that it actually works, you know.
It's interesting. It makes you think differently about something. And yeah, and now maybe when you get a spam email, you actually start laughing because you think of the talk.
So I know that each TEDx, let's say, event has a theme. And so when you are thinking of like, okay, does my topic fit into a theme? Can you adjust any topic to a theme? Or will you have to come up with something else? Or will you then rather say, okay, this theme is not for me, my topic doesn't fit into that? So I'm thinking almost, okay, now you have created your TEDx talk because it's yours.
Yep.
You don't know yet beforehand where you're going to deliver it. Is that?
Right. That's right. So
that's what in my case, I knew where I was going to deliver it and the theme before I created the talk.
For me, it was kind of reverse, but in general, the TEDx talk kind of themes are extremely general. So it's almost impossible not to make your topic fit. But there's an exception to that rule, and that is like some events that are dedicated to a locally important topic. So say like in your city, there's something important that they want to address, or something that's going wrong in the community or something, and they are looking specifically for people who can address this topic or change something in that local community. And then you cannot just, you know, deliver any kind of talk under that umbrella. So these are, but this doesn't happen. This may be like 5 to 10% of TEDx events fall under that category. The rest have really big umbrella themes where most TEDx talks would feel quite happy to be housed underneath.
So the path that I did, like, okay, there's an event and I create my topic fitting to that event, or at least I knew where I was going to speak. You say in most cases it's opposite, or the way you work with your clients, it's the opposite. You create the talk and then you go after the where to speak.
Yes, because for most people, what works best is to create a talk that they're truly passionate about and that reflects exactly what they want to share. And it's easier then to look for the right fit from a TEDx event perspective than to tweak what you want to stand for and what you want to be an ambassador for. I mean, for you, it was easy because it worked well together. But in general, I think stick to your vision, stick to what you want to say, and then find the right match thereafter. Yeah.
So create the talk first.
Create the talk, get your idea, create the talk, and then look for the right match.
Okay. So now
writers like this these days, and I'll tell you why. Because this used to be different, but when you go into the application process, now curators actually want to often already see the talk. They want to say, okay, I like your idea, send in your talk. They didn't used to do that. You just wrote like a little abstract. Now it's like, send the talk. We're going to judge you on if this talk fits us. So that's why, anyway, you kind of have to start with the talk now.
Okay, so that's very different from 5 years ago, where I could send in an application, and the application, I did have to have a video, but it didn't have to be it didn't have to be the talk, and the video was just like, 2 minutes of me standing in front of my iPhone camera and
exactly
passionately, like showing the style of talking. Maybe I said something like, "Oh, it's frustrating that women don't follow their passion," or something like that. So it was somehow integrated into my talk, but it could have been something different. And now you're saying they want to see the whole talk.
Many
so
do.
Isn't that a little bit scary? Like,
well, that's why we hire people like us. No, but in all seriousness, it may be more scary, but it's in a way it's even better because from both sides there's total clarity on what you will deliver.
Yes.
And what you truly stand for. So the curator doesn't have to hope and dream that you're going to create something amazing, and they have to just trust you that you will figure it out. They can already judge that and see, oh, actually, this is good. And it doesn't mean that, whatever you send has to be like your final draft. It can still be, rough around the edges. It doesn't have to be like the superb version yet, but they want to see like where are you going to go with your idea? Which direction are you going to take? And I think from a curator's point of view, this makes sense for them because why do they do what they do for free? They do this because they truly care about sharing an amazing idea. So they put so much effort and time into this. So for them, the speaker selection is the most pivotal part of their process because their event will kind of sink or swim based on the quality of the speakers. Yeah. And if I were a curator, I would probably want to see the potential talks too, versus just a great abstract, but no idea how that would actually be translated into a script and how that would look like. So I think it serves everybody. It just adds an extra layer of clarity.
Yeah, I would honestly say, because if I think back, the stress of like, okay, now you're speaking and the date is fixed and there's no way around it, and my script development did not go exactly as I thought. I thought I could just sit down, and actually I did hire a script coach, someone who had been a TEDx curator, so she had like the eye for it. And I also bought the book. What's the book? Talk Like TED.
Talk Like TED, yes.
Yeah, Talk Like TED. So I was like, I learned the ways, and she would like, I still had to write the script. She didn't write it for me, but I got feedback, and we did like 6 weeks of coaching. And then I think we were at the 4th week and it was like not happening. And she was giving me the feedback, like, we're not there yet. And I'm like, oh, so I went away for a weekend. I have to get away from my own home, my own desk. And it was at a time where the snow was gone, but we went into like a ski resort with no snow, no people. And then I would brainstorm. I kind of knew what I was talking about, but it was not, the pieces were not falling together. But I was under this time pressure of like, I gotta make this happen. My talk is a month away. Yeah. Well, luckily, I went for a long walk for an hour, came back into the hotel room, and it just came out. Yeah. But then you have to kind of practice it and learn it and everything. So I would say this process that you're describing now, that to actually get your idea, create the talk, go in front of your camera or iPhone, and I think that's a much more relaxed process. Like, you are not in a rush.
Yes.
There's no deadline yet. And when the talk is completely finished, then you go after events that you want to speak.
Yeah. And I also think, because even for those events that don't require you to have your script, it actually gives you a competitive advantage, because you say, no, you don't have to buy the cat in the bag. It's like, you can check. And also, there is the curator interview process, right? So this is still the case. Like, when your application is selected, the curator will want to talk to you, and it's like an interview. And you have to actually really know what you're going to say already. And where many people that are not properly prepared for this interview, they fail, is because they think it's okay to just have a general idea and be like, oh, so this is my general idea. And then when the curator wants to drill down, they haven't fully developed it in their minds yet. So then they can't convincingly talk about it. And this then is harmful to your chances, because they want to see that you can really sharply and succinctly pull together your thought leadership on this topic, right? Yeah. And not just be like, oh, I'm an expert in this topic, I can just talk about it. Well, this is a dangerous belief, because if you know a lot about a topic, you can also go in circles and not hone in on this one like key message that the curator wants to hear from you.
Yeah, that's very true. If you are a huge expert on something, but you haven't sitting down and actually kind of distilled your expertise. The thing is, you can go talk for an hour and it doesn't sound like you really know what you're talking about because you can't have this one clear idea.
That's right.
Yeah. So I do love this change in process. I think that's way more relaxing.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, let's say I go through this whole process. I develop my new TEDx talk. I even do a little video, not too fancy, but I would like still be able to speak it.
Yeah.
Can anyone get on the stage? Like, will the application be accepted?
Yeah. So the way I would describe this process is to think of applying for a TEDx event like applying for a job. So there's no such thing as not getting a TEDx talk. Like there is no such thing as not getting a job. There's only a you stopped looking for one or you stopped applying for a TEDx talk. So if you are well prepared and you have a sharp message and a good script, I mean, these are key requirements. I'm just going to assume here that
CV and you have practiced the interview.
Yeah, that like I'm just going to assume you have what it takes on your side of the equation. Then it's a numbers game, and you got to play the numbers game. And this can vary hugely. Like there are people that land a talk within one application, or like you have somebody seek them out. Fantastic. There are people where it can take up to 15, 30, 45 applications. Now, there are several other factors that come into play. One is one that nobody has control over, which is just simply luck. You're the right person with the right topic at the right time. Great. That was the case for me. I applied to one event. I got into that one event, was a good fit overall with the other speakers. So this was kind of like a perfect setup for me, and I didn't need to try hard. But you know, this is also a bit luck at the end of the day. Then, you know, how big is your platform? Are you known? If you are more known, I have to say it's easier to land a talk. Like if you are well known in your field of expertise, if you published a book, if you have an audience, it gives you a bit of an edge. And the reason it gives you a bit of an edge is because we go back to what does the curator want? They want their talks to be seen by many people. They want to change lives. That's what they do it for. And they assume that if somebody has an established audience, they can leverage that audience and allow like a multiplier effect. Because, you know, the dream of every TEDx curator is to have the million views talks, because then they know what I've put on here has changed millions of people's lives. So of course, if you have a platform and can prove that your idea is interesting to people, then it's easier. This shouldn't discourage anybody who doesn't have that. As I said, I was the total nobody, no platform, no number, no nothing. And I still got it based on the merit of the idea. I'm just saying sometimes that can give you an edge, but this is not excluding anybody who doesn't have those things. So it's just something to bear in mind. And also what you need to know, which will be hard to ascertain, is you might apply to an event and they have a speaker that's already cornered a similar type of topic. So maybe the application is great, maybe they love it, but they already have, like for you, maybe they already have a speaker on female equality. So even though you have a different angle, maybe they cannot take two that go in the same direction. So you wouldn't land that specific TEDx event. That's why you need to play the numbers game to ensure that you land your event.
But ultimately you're saying anyone can get a job, anyone can get a TEDx talk.
That's right. Provided you do your homework and you have a really good idea worth sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a question here. Why is the afterwards more important than what happened? Like the power of TEDx. Okay, you've done the preparation, you give the talk, and for a lot of people, the talk is it. Like this is the day, right? You are live in front of people when it's safe, of course. You're live in front of people and you're like, oh, I've done my talk. But that's where the real work starts.
Yes, that is where the real work starts, because pretty much like authors would say the same thing nowadays, you know, handing in your book and having it published and then holding it in your hands is the start of the journey, not the end. And basically when you kind of hold your TEDx talk in your hands, it's also the start of the journey, because your job as a speaker is to ensure that people get to see it, because you can have done a fabulous job, and if nobody sees it, then nobody got served by your idea. So this is where then you need to think, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, by the way, you need to think like an entrepreneur and think of your TEDx talk like a launch that you plan in and around. Like, what are the things you could do to get people excited about it, to create a buzz around it, to get it out to people? And what you want to go into the mindset of is a great TEDx talk should be shareable, right? That's kind of the key origin of the idea of a viral talk. Is not that you pay for advertisement until kingdom come, and to pay for every view. No, the idea is to have a talk that's so captivating, people will want to share it. They want to give this experience to other people they care about. And your job is just to get kind of the initial eyeballs on your video and then allow for the snowball effect to gather momentum. And a good TEDx talk will gather momentum for years. It will not stop. And that's also where I think it's different than maybe other piece of online content that we can produce, which, as you know and I know, if you produce something, you have to keep it fresh and keep marketing it for people to engage with it. A TEDx talk, you don't have to do that. Once you get the initial push, it keeps rolling. Like, I haven't marketed my talk since like a couple of months after the event. And this is now several years ago. And it still grows every day organically by 3,000-4,000 views. And I haven't touched any marketing. It's just people sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing. And that's what you want to get in the mindset of, is when you create it. I always say when people think a viral marketing plan starts with the marketing, it doesn't. It starts with the script. It starts with, have you shared something that people will want to share with others? That's where it starts, because marketing alone cannot deliver this.
No. And you have to not make the mistake that I made. So I think my talk was shareable.
Yes.
But because it has the human element, then childhood dreams connection, and you want to make your dreams come true. So the content of my talk was shareable. The mistake I made, which you're not going to make, is the title. I was so fixed on like, oh, be inspired, think big, take action. I didn't think of it as a blog post, like how to how to make all your dreams come true, or how to make like if I had just switched that, it would have been even easier to. And I still was the most watched speaker of all the speakers from that one day. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. But as you said, it's shareable, and it starts with the title. You think of a blog post.
Oh yeah, we need to spend a lot of our time on that.
It's kind of a clickbait. You wanna have it clickable.
Yes.
And if I look into YouTube and I see the talks that YouTube promotes, TEDx talk that YouTube promotes, I can see. You can already. This is easy for everyone to research. You can take your topic and type your topic TEDx. And then you'll see and then you'll see the ones that are being pushed are very clickable. You're like,
yes,
yeah, I want to watch this one. I want to watch this one, because the title is so teasing.
Correct. Yeah. You want to be a bit clickbaity in the best way.
Yeah, in a nice way.
That's very true. Yeah, we spend a lot of our time on ensuring that we have great titles, because that's your first piece of marketing that people can see. If they're deciding, like, am I going to watch this talk, yes or no? They don't know you yet. They haven't heard you yet. So they're going to decide that based on the title.
Yeah. And then, of course, the talk has to be good. The script has to be good. But
and the first minute is very important. Like, if you have to draw people in the first minute, because, the online attention span is extremely limited. So you have to be able to get some kind of emotional response for people within the first minute or so that they are intrigued enough to give you more of their time.
Yeah, especially with an 18-minute talk and you're sitting at your computer, or probably in most cases now you're on your phone.
Yeah.
I will not watch a video for 18 minutes unless I'm very
interested in this. Yeah, right. So that's why the first minute has to also be a teaser for the rest of the talk. Like, you need to get people excited about what's going to come here? What is she going to share, or he's going to share? Or, you have to do a really good job in the first minute or so.
I think also it's important, like the production of the video. So the TEDx Zurich Women was like a one-off event, it's not the same as TEDx Zurich or TEDx Paris. So, and I had no clue about all these ideas about video production, but, I remember once we talked about it. You want to actually go to an event where that the video production is good, and not every event will have that. I would say the one thing that they did not do well with TEDx Zurich Women was they had a lot of sponsors, because it's kind of a non-profit thing, TEDx, and the curator are working for free, as you said. If you click on my video, the first thing that comes up is the screen with all the sponsors.
Yes.
And it stays on for several seconds. And I'm like, I, as someone that is thinking of watching this video, I'm already a little bit annoyed. And probably some people will click away and not watch. So I think in most cases, this screen with sponsors comes actually at the end, or it doesn't come
at mine too at the beginning. I know I had mine too. They are allowed to do that. Curators, they are, like, by TEDx guidelines, they can do that. So I agree with you. Like, from a viewer experience, I would much prefer this at the end of the talk than at the beginning as a TEDx viewer. But I guess from the TEDx sponsor side, they prefer the beginning, of course. So I guess that's the compromise they make. But I agree with you that, it's not optimal, but neither the speakers nor the curators will be able to do much. But what you can do something about is to ensure that you speak at an event where the audio and visual quality is excellent, because this is what people judge you on. People mistake who their audience is. So people often think, my audience is the people on the day. No, your audience is people on YouTube. So however great that day is in front of the live audience is a drop in the ocean in comparison to the real audience, which is on YouTube. And they want to hang around for fuzzy audio, fuzzy video, because it's just an unpleasant experience. It's just how it is. And I have seen numerous TEDx speakers deliver wonderful talks, but audio either failed them or video failed them. And this really kills everything you've put into the talk. Like if you have the best talk in the world, if people can't hear you properly, it means nothing. If the video quality isn't great, people are not going to connect to you. They're not going to engage. So your job as a speaker is to vet your curators as much as they vet you. You need to say, how often have you done this? Do you have a video crew? And also check their track record. Check out some of the past videos from TEDx events they've hosted, and see, do they look like they've been filmed in the back of the classroom, or do they look like, it's a great event? And you want to make sure you check that as well.
So guys who are watching us live, ask your questions if you have any. I knew people are shy, so I'm asking all the questions. What is with coronavirus, COVID restrictions? You say people are back asking for TEDx talks.
They are. I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's great.
And there are actually two reasons why I'm happy. The first reason I'm happy is because I think probably now more than ever, people need ideas, because the world has changed so dramatically. And how are we going to get out of this is with new ideas for life after this. How are we going to live? How are we going to organize our work? How are we going to organize our travel? How are we going to organize our intimate relationships with people? Like, everything has been strained and changed. So I think now more than ever, fresh ideas are needed to reshape our kind of collective destiny. So that's the first reason I'm thrilled that TEDx is back, because I think now ideas are, the thing that will help us get over everything that's kind of broken down and take it to a breakthrough. The second thing that I'm delighted, of course, is to know that, speakers who are excited and have been sitting on their ideas, they have stages again to speak on. So what's happening now is we have 3 types of ways that TEDx events are back. The first one is a purely digital event where you actually speak from the comfort of your own home, like you record yourself behind a green screen, or some people even in their kitchen, like really, and they then send in that video to their curator, and if it's filmed with a green screen, it might be digitized to make it look like you spoke on a TEDx stage. So that looks pretty cool. Actually, it works quite well. Or they show it, you in your actual natural environment. And after all, it's about the idea that counts. So people are probably less discerning and less rough when it comes to their quality requirements as a viewer of what they need to see in a TEDx talk to hang around, because now we all have a life on Zoom. We all now have different requirements than we might have had pre-corona. The second type of event is ghost events. So these are events that are put on a real stage, in a real kind of auditorium room, whatever, but no audience. So you speak on the stage, you're properly filmed, but there will be nobody there. So that's the second option. And the third option is with real people in the audience, and those are the satellite events. So what is a satellite event? A satellite event is basically where in one city, they will host an event, and they will host it in like 3 or 4 different venues, smaller venues, so where they can spread out how people sit in the audience. And each of these venues will have their own set of speakers. So usually TEDx events have between 10 to 12 speakers, so the speakers will be split across these events. And then say you start with venue A, you have the speakers there, and venue A will live stream to venue B, C, and D, and then on it goes. So you still have kind of the live TED experience. And some speakers also need a live audience to bounce off of energetically. Like they need to feel like speaking to people to get into the spirit and the energy. So you have those 3 possibilities. I know some of my clients are like, I can do this from home. Oh my God, I love it. And you have others who are like, oh, no. I need people. I need the energetic bounce back. I'm going to look for an event that has this. So whatever format you choose, TEDx is going to cater to that, and they're back.
Yeah. So what if somebody is watching and saying, yes, I want to prepare my TEDx talk, whether, it takes time to prepare it, of course. What does a typical TEDx script, like how long does it take?
That depends vastly on how good of a writer you are. It depends on how well you know your topic. And most of all, it depends on how much clarity you have on what it is you want to share. So I think most time is spent on figuring out what you want to say. And so I think if you don't have any coaching guidance, this can take months. This can take 4, 5, 6 months for people to figure out. Yeah. Of course, if you work with people like us, we have a systemized process where we help you figure out what is your idea. We help you drill down. We help you pick out the stories, the facts, the figures. So you already have your ingredient mix there if you choose to write it yourself, or we even have speech writers that can write it for you if you don't want to write it yourself. But then it becomes quite easy because you already have it all clear. You have the talk architecture in your mind, and then it's just a question of actually writing it. So this then can take some people, it takes them a weekend. It takes them 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So this can really depend on who's doing it and in what type of process they're in.
Well, I can say from doing this myself, I could not have figured out my thing without some help. So I see basically 2 options. Yes, you can do it yourself, like we know. That can take forever, and it's very painful, very painful. Of course, you can have, done for you service like you offer. But what is the middle ground? I think you have something for us.
I do indeed. So here's the interesting thing. So since 2017, I've only worked with people on a one-on-one basis, and I have a great team with me. And usually we work with entrepreneurs that are already far ahead in the game, or visionaries, leaders that, A, can afford this kind of personal support, and B, many of them also want the done-for-you parts of it. But I thought I have this process that I've developed. It's a 5-step process. And I've only taught it kind of in this elite framework. And I thought, you know, what would be great is to break down my process and actually give my process away so that you can DIY it without having the question marks like, how do I do this? What do I do here? What does that mean to write a great script? What is a TEDx talk architecture? How do I apply? What does the curator want to see? How do I market my talk? What are the drives? Like all of these questions, I can answer them. And I decided to put on a 2-day weekend workshop. So on 7th and 8th of November, where I take a group of entrepreneurs, so limited to 20, so that I can actually give personalized feedback throughout. And I'm going to take them through my 5-step process. So the first part of the process is the idea phase, like helping you find your idea, which is critical and is the hardest thing to do on your own. And you get like a pre-workshop training from me of how to find your winning idea. And then on the call, I will make sure everybody gets clarity on their idea and gets just the right angle so they can move with it. Second part
is priceless. I think the idea phase, it's impossible to do it on your own.
Yes, because you also don't necessarily know what would work on the TEDx stage. Is your idea too broad? Is it too specific? Like you have to have the right breadth and depth of an idea to really work on the TEDx stage. And I can see it like this, you know, I can look at an idea and say, no, this is not sharp enough yet, or it's too deep, or it's too zoomed out. So this kind of feedback can be a game changer, because otherwise you can go in circles forever and still not figure out why you can't do the process properly. The second part then is the scripting phase. And of course, we're not going to script your talk live in the workshop. But what I do there is I help you understand what it is you need to pick out from your own personal journey, from your experience, from your knowledge base. Like I help you put together your ingredient mix and help you understand what you need to choose from your ingredient mix that needs to be in your talk. And I share with you examples of different talk architectures based on the style of talk you want to deliver, so that you have something that you can kind of base it on and see, oh, so now I have my idea. These would be the kind of stories and facts and figures I want to share. And this is the kind of architecture that would work with that. So then you kind of have clarity of how you can go into that process. And once we've moved from that stage, we go into the next one, which is the application phase. And here I help you know, how do you find that elusive TEDx event that's the right fit for you? How does the application process work? What are they looking for in the answers? How do you script them? And what we've done for our private clients is, from the top 100 events, we've curated a list of the key questions that keep coming up over and over again that TEDx students are looking for. And I give you that list of questions, and I give you guidance for each of these questions and tell you, okay, for this question, this is the kind of thing they want to hear from you. For this question, this is the type of thing they want to hear. So I'm going to give that to you. You can then fill that out after you've written your talk. It should be easy to do because you know exactly what you want to say. And you have my guidance to know exactly what and in which style to pitch yourself. And I'm going to train you on the curator interview process and on how to do your winning video.
Yeah, I was like, how do I do that video?
Yeah, exactly. And how to really create a video that will work for the curator. And then we move into our final 2 stages. So then we move into the speaking stage. How do you speak like TED? How do you memorize a talk? We have some amazing techniques that we've developed to help very busy people memorize talks. So we're going to share our insider secrets of how you can memorize your talk, what to expect on the day, how to rehearse, how to know when you're ready, like the ins and outs of the day, from like what color to wear, you know, how to show up, how to prepare for yourself, you know, the day, what you need to think about, what happens if you get nervous. Like also, you know, we're going to address some of the fears of public speaking. How can you overcome them? Getting into the right mindset. So all of these things. And then lastly, marketing, which of course any great TEDx talk needs marketing. And as you know, I have my own business coaching background. So this is my old wheelhouse, and I have put together a 10-step viral marketing process. And that's usually something I only reserve for my high-end paying clients. And I'm going to share that there and share exactly how you can leverage that regardless of the size of your business. And regardless of if you can spend money or not, you can market your talk. So I'm going to share all of it over 2 days.
Wow. So you're only taking a few clients because you want to give personalized feedback. So it sounds like this is crazy expensive.
Well, I have fantastic news. I have very fantastic news because I have two options. I have my workshop only option, and I am selling that for $9.97 US, which is a steal.
Very, very good price. Yeah.
Yes. And there's even a VIP upgrade. If you want to get extra help and you know already you're really serious about this and you want to go deeper, I have a 2-phase coaching support. So one, before the workshop, you can have 1 hour with me where I will take apart your idea and we put it back together and we really help you walk out with extra clarity on your winning idea, and we dive deep to make sure you know that. And then after the workshop, you have like an aftercare hour with me where we can go into personalized strategies for you. Because of course, every case is different. Every entrepreneur is different. Maybe you want to know how to leverage it for your business. Maybe you have specific questions about your script or your story or how deep or how far you want to go. And you want a personal sounding board. So you can get that. And these are both early bird prices. So that's $1,997 US. And that is also for early bird. So seize it now while
that's priceless. So how do people sign up?
So you can go on myred.stage.com/Sigrun. myred.stage.com/Sigrun.
Is this correct? I typed it.
Let me see where you're typing it, if I can see it. Oh, I don't see anything. But I can put it. I'll put it under the comments after we close up here. I'll just put the link in the
Absolutely. Comments. So we do have some questions. What's your favorite TEDx talk of all time?
This is probably I would have to say one of my favorite talks is the Ken Robinson talk.
I love that one.
Yeah, because I think he has so much heart and humbleness in his delivery. And he's so personally endearing, and yet he shares something deeply profound and something that can really change a lot of lives. So it kind of ticks all the boxes of what I love in a good TEDx talk.
Yeah, I love that talk. And he actually has passed away, I think this year or last year.
Yeah. But this legacy. This is why a TEDx talk is like a legacy work. You know, your idea will live on.
Yeah. This is probably one of the first talks I saw. You know, I think so. And it's constantly in the top 10, I think.
It is. It's one of the top 10 talks, and I think for very good reason. And I think it'll stay there for a while.
Yeah, it will. I also love the one from Brené Brown on shame.
That's an excellent talk as well. And Esther Perel's talk also on desire, I find excellent. These are all three, I would say, are my top faves. And I like one that is maybe less known, but by Elizabeth Gilbert, her talk on creativity. I also really enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. I love that too. So you see, we have seen the same talks. And I think about the talks, it helped me to watch some talks when I was like, I know I'm going to give a TEDx talk, like to watch some talks, but then I did not on purpose watch some talks because you know, it's okay to be a little bit inspired and understand the structure of TEDx talks by watching very well-known talks. But when you are developing your script, I did not think that was very helpful in that exact moment.
That's true.
So that I can focus on my idea and my message.
That's right. Yeah, because it's easy to slip into wanting, even subconsciously, to kind of copy the style. And really, it's important for people to be in their own energy, in their own essence, and trust themselves. That, you know, if you're a more quiet person, then write it the way you would naturally speak. Don't try to be somebody else or copy somebody's style that has a different energy. Like, stick to who you are and stick to your natural delivery style.
Yeah. So I want to join your workshop. So who is gonna join it with me? Because I know I have at least 2 more TEDx talks, probably more. Isn't there like shouldn't you do a new TEDx talk every 5 years or something? So I think I'm up for another one. And whether
you're up for renewal. And actually, so am I. I'm up for renewal too.
Yes, and whether I deliver it on a TEDx stage or not, I just love how, you know, the focused delivery of TEDx talks in general. Yeah. So I'm thinking of my own conference, or maybe for my clients, to have a talk that fits my mission, because my first talk was more about the stage where I was in business then. Yeah. And now I think everyone has this bigger mission in life, and sometimes you don't know what it is until you have been doing your business for a little bit.
Of course. And I think you're right, you know, nothing positions your thought leadership in a more succinct way, whether you use it on the TEDx stage or elsewhere then. Yeah.
So I'm going to be there on the workshop. Who's joining me? I hope to see you there, Elena. It's been a pleasure, like always.
I love our chats. Thank you so much for having me. And you know, it is two ladies in red today, and two TED ladies.
Two TED ladies. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, you can still post them even after we are, you know, live.
Check the posts as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.